What do you do when that greasy, salty bag of chips or that really good looking donut is sitting there and calling your name and all you want to do is eat it and you feel absolutely miserable? You know it's not what you actually want to do, yet you can't help finding yourself putting it in your mouth. What do? We're talking about cravings today. Specifically, I am going to talk to you about what's causing them, how to kick them out the door, and then what to do when you experience the big one. Yeah, that big craving that you always give into. Let's talk about that today. If you're watching the replay, I'd love to say hi and introduce myself. My name is Tanessa Shears, and I am a weight loss coach for women. I specialize in helping women lose their last 10 to 15 pounds with strategies that are sustainable, simple, and have nothing to do with counting calories. You will never catch me counting a single calorie because I don't think it works. And that is what I want for you. I want you to be able to integrate this into a lifestyle. That is so important, and it is doable. I have women that are dropping pounds, body fat, and weight every day with using the simple strategies that I teach you on these weekly live trainings. So let's hop into it. We don't want to miss a moment. So if you are here on the replay, I would love for you to say hi in the comments right now. Let me know that you're showing up here. I love reading your guys' comments, and it makes my day to be able to see you here in the comments and saying hi. Okay, we're talking about cravings. We need to know first about why we get them. I mean, these cravings are so, they throw a wrench in the plan, let's just say that. And you can tell that you're experiencing a craving because it is for a specific food. When you're hungry in general, you know, you might be like, my stomach's rumbling, I should probably get something to eat soon. That's hunger, that's normal. But when you're experiencing a craving, you're like, I want Oreos, or I need chips, or that glass of wine looks really good right now. Whenever you're experiencing a craving, it is something very specific that you are wanting. And how else do you know it's a craving? Because it increases in intensity if you do not answer it. Meaning, if you see that donut on the counter, and it's at work, and it's at the end of a really long day, like, 4 p.m. kind of time, and you're like, oh, that donut looks really good right now. And you notice that it builds, and it builds, and it builds, and it literally feels like you're having an out-of-body experience, and you find you're eating the donut almost against your own will. That is a craving, and we need to figure out why they're happening. Well, it has to do with your brain. It's not entirely your fault that you're experiencing these cravings. When we were born, we weren't addicted to sugar, and we weren't addicted to refined foods and processed foods and flour. When we came out as fresh little babies, we only knew healthy whole foods. But with the introduction of processed foods, refined foods, sugar, flour, food that has been taken from a natural source and condensed. So I want you to think about this. Think about the sugar in a blueberry versus the sugar in table sugar. It is in a whole natural source and then it's condensed, right? Or sugar cane gets made into table sugar. Or apples get made into apple juice. Or wheat gets made into bread. All of these foods that we once experienced in their natural forms when we used to eat blueberries and we used to eat just plain wheat as it was, are now condensed and they're refined and they're broken down into fine little particles. And when our body meets these foreign, very concentrated substances, we get the most insane dopamine release. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain. It's a little messenger molecule. And when that refined processed sugar and flour, when it binds with those receptors, we get an intense release of dopamine. And dopamine essentially is all about pleasure. So when you're getting a massage and you're like, ooh, that feels good? Yeah, that's dopamine that's getting released. That's telling your brain that this is good, we like this. But the same thing is happening when you eat sugar and flour. So you probably remember back in the day where a small handful of chips did the trick and you were just like, oh, that was so good. But then as you go through your life, all of a sudden that handful of chips doesn't do it anymore and you need a bowl. And then you need half a bag, and then you need a bag to get that same good feeling rush. That is literally an addiction. And it's not our fault. But the good news is, if we have taught ourselves to be addicted to these foods, we can just as easily teach our bodies to be unaddicted. Now, I'm not saying that's the easiest process in the world, but I'm going to tell you how to do it because it is doable. I've done it, and many of my clients have done it, and experiencing less cravings, feeling better, less bloating, less headaches. There's so many good things that come with getting rid of your cravings. So What we need to do is understand that we are caught in an addiction cycle, meaning our body is conditioned that when our brain drives an urge to go and eat that donut, eat those chips, we get the reward in the form of dopamine that is released in the brain. So it's literally like that out of control experience. It's exactly what it is. It's an out of control experience. So we know that it's an addiction process. And I have read that the withdrawal process from coming off of sugar and flour is on similar intensity levels to quitting smoking. So yeah, there's going to be a bit of discomfort, but I'm going to ask you this. Would you be willing to go through 1 to 2 weeks of discomfort in exchange for having next to no or very little cravings? I would. Sign me up. So this is where we start identifying, okay, well, here's what I need to do. We need to, step 2, kick those cravings to the curb. And this is going to take a little bit of grit and a little bit of willpower, but I know it's nothing that you can't do because you're here in this group, which means you obviously want to kick your cravings to the curb. If you've watched this far into the video, you're ready to say goodbye to your cravings. So what you need to do is, I'm going to give you 2 options. Option A, you slowly start removing the refined and processed foods from your diet. So what you might do is say, if you want to start the slow way, maybe you say, I am going to remove processed foods from my breakfasts. And so what you'll do is you'll take out your sugary cereals and your sugary yogurts and your sugary, all that kind of stuff that we like to put in to make our breakfast so sweet. Then what you might want to do is remove it from lunch and then from dinner. So you can do it in a piecewise where every week maybe you take a small step forward in removing those processed foods from your diet. Now, on the other hand, I've worked with enough women to know that some of you guys are just, that's it, I've had it, I'm ready to drop the cravings. So the other option is you could remove those foods in entirety from your diet. So I'm talking about doing a detox, a sugar and flour detox. I know, some of you, that might kick up a lot of nerves, but I'm going to tell you, I've worked with clients doing both, and if you are the type of person who is going to do well with slowly removing these one at a time, to let your body detox, that's great. But I also think there is a strong argument for knocking it all out at once. So think about this. Think of a smoker. If a smoker was trying to quit smoking, would they have an easier time going through 1 to 2 really hard weeks if they went cold turkey and cut out smoking it entirely, or quit over a long period of time where they slowly wean down their smokes? Now, you might fall into either of these camps, and none of them is right or wrong, but it's about making the best decision for you. What I personally did when I was just ready, I'd had it, I was done being at the mercy of food, well, what I did was I cut out sugar and flour completely for 2 weeks. And here's what you can expect to experience. You can expect to be a little bit grumpy, and that's okay. A little bit moody, perhaps irritated. There might be some headaches, because what happens is when you cut out these foods, your body gets a little dehydrated, and we often don't know that the process can be made a lot easier by staying hydrated. So I like to keep my water up around 2, 2.5, even 3 liters while I am removing these foods from my diet so that my brain can detox from all of these foods that are causing these cravings. So I found that really worked for me. And when I hit the 2-week mark and I was ready to be like, okay, well, I'm going to add still my 1 meal in a week where I have my flours or my sugars, I found that my cravings were nearly gone. I go 95% of my weeks, and as do most of my clients, without experiencing food or sugar cravings. Because you have to break that addiction that your brain has with those foods so you can reprogram your body. I mean, we weren't born addicted to these foods. We were introduced them, which caused the brain addiction, which we now need to undo if you want to stop suffering from cravings. I mean, it is possible. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable though. And now that you know that we know why the cravings are caused, we know what we need to do to get the cravings to decrease in level. Now we need to know what to do when they come up during that detox process. And that's point number 3, what to do. Now we think that there's 2 options to cravings. We think, well, you either give in and eat the food, or you sit there, be miserable, and use willpower. Well, willpower doesn't work. It's a finite resource. What that means is every decision you make during the day wanes on your willpower. Meaning you decide to go to the gym, wanes on your willpower. Decide what t-shirt to wear in the morning, wanes on your willpower. Decide whether you want to use mascara A or mascara B, wanes on your willpower. By the time you get to the end of the day, you are run dry, especially if you have an intense, busy job during the day in which your brain is constantly coming up with solutions and problems, and maybe you're organizing other people. Well, by the time you get to the end of the day, there's nothing left for your brain, no fuel in the tank. You're running dry, so it gets really easy to make poor decisions. So we do not want to rely on willpower. Well, Tanessa, you're probably asking me, if we don't just eat it and we don't use willpower, how the heck do you stop eating those foods, like when that craving comes up? Well, the answer is simple. There's a third option. You allow that urge, and an urge is a craving. It's that like intense wind up of eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. You know the one we hear in our head? It's an intense wind up of that experience. The third option is to allow that craving, that urge, to be there without reacting to it. You don't fight it and get willpower and white knuckle your way through, and you don't give in. You just feel what uncomfortable feels like in your body. You guys, there's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable. We don't even consider that as an option, that we can just feel uncomfortable and feel okay with it. Think about it. What is the worst thing that can happen if you feel uncomfortable for 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes until it passes? Because I'm going to tell you a secret. Cravings never go away in entirety. There is never going to be a day where you never experience a food craving again. There are days when you are sticking to your plan. Somebody sits down beside you with pizza. Your mouth begins to water. Your brain starts to chatter and be like, oh, you worked hard this week. Just this one. It won't matter that much. I don't have that much weight to lose. I deserve this. I'm really stressed out. You know all that brain chatter that starts to come up? Well, it makes you feel really uncomfortable. And eating the food makes that feeling of uncomfortable go away. But here's the problem. You never get better. You never reach your goals. So my challenge to you, if you're getting to 3 o'clock in your work day and all you want to do is bust out the snacks because you're bored, and you're not eating because you're hungry, you're just eating because you're bored, or maybe you're stressed out or overwhelmed, or you've been fighting with your husband, or your kids are on your last nerve, feel uncomfortable. It's in your stomach. Maybe it's in here. Identify where it's coming from. Let it be there. Be present with it. Be the woman that is okay with being uncomfortable, because I'm going to tell you something. Discomfort is the currency to this whole weight loss process. The more you are willing to feel uncomfortable, the more successful you will be. That goes for anything in your life. The more uncomfortable you are willing to be, the more successful you will become. So, what might it feel like to just feel that intense desire for chips and just let it be? Because I'm going to tell you a secret. And this is something that most of us never get to experience. Cravings, they pass because they are only an intense amount of chatter. I mean, the worst thing that is going to happen is you're going to have to sit there for 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, maybe. And here's some really loud thoughts about all the reasons why you should eat that food, why you deserve to eat that food, why your goals aren't that important. So if the worst thing that happens is you have to sit there for 10 minutes and listen to some loud thoughts while your mouth is watering, in order to feel good when you put on your pants tomorrow, in order to feel good when you step on the scale and you're like, yeah, I worked for that, in order to feel confident when you walk out the door and not feel like you have to be self-conscious of your body or feel like you could be a better version of yourself. I mean, would you not be willing to listen to 10 minutes of loud thoughts to feel the way you want to feel comfortable, to be able to put on whatever clothes you want to put on, to feel energetic, to feel like you're not at the mercy of food and you're not eating through it? Because I'm going to tell you something, and I want to be really straight with you right now. Weight loss, getting those last 10 to 15 pounds off, yes, it is important what you eat. 100% it is. But you know what's just as important, if not more, is how you learn how to manage all of those noisy, loud thoughts. Because all the diet plans in the world won't do you any good if every time that donut is sitting there 3 p.m. on a Friday and your boss was being a jerk, you're going to eat that donut. and you're gonna find yourself running in circles. So it's about managing this. It's about learning how to hear loud thoughts and not react. Feel a craving and not respond. Allow it to be there. What's the big deal? Why are we so scared of feeling uncomfortable? All right, you guys, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. It's about that dopamine addiction in the brain. It's not your fault you're addicted to food. That we weren't born this way. We have to learn how to unprocess our body. Go whole food nutrition. Did it come from the ground? Did it have a mother? Whole food nutrition, back out of the sugar and food craving. Number 2, you got to stop it by removing those things. You have the option to go nice and slow, or you have the option to go quick. And last but not least, you have to process through them. You can't just give in or willpower and be in fight all the time with yourself. Just learn how to be okay with those loud thoughts. Listen to them. I mean, when's the last time you actually listened to how you're thinking about these cravings? What is your brain saying? I would love to know. You guys, I've got a little bit of exciting news before we jump out today. In a couple weeks, just towards the end of October, I'm doing a completely free challenge inside this group, because every time one of you guys join this group, I ask you, what are you struggling with? What is your number one goal right now? And that is what I make all these videos from. I hear you. I saw a lot this week on cravings, on exercise, on time management, on making healthy snacks. I hear you guys what you're saying. So I have made a free 5-day challenge that's coming up. We're starting at the end of October. It is called The Last Diet Makeover Ever. It's a back to basics challenge, and it's 5 days for me and you to come together and give yourself the last diet makeover you will ever make. I'm so excited to share this with you guys, because my philosophy is, if you are with me and you are part of my tribe and you are trying to lose these last 10 pounds, this will be the last time you lose these last 10 pounds. I don't want you to lose and gain and lose and gain. That is miserable, overwhelming, and defeating. With me, this will be the last time you lose those 10 pounds. This is the last time you have 10 pounds left to lose, 8 pounds left to lose, 20 pounds left to lose. And this challenge that I'm doing, this Last Diet Makeover Ever Back to Basics challenge, I'm going to be going for free live here in the group 5 days in a row, and I will have a sign-up link coming up, so keep your eyes open for that. And in the meantime, if this kind of content is resonating with you, I ask you to do 2 things. Number 1, I would be honored if you would share this with a girlfriend. Invite her to the group. Invite her to come into this world, and where we work together on creating lifestyle changes. And the second thing, if you're vibing on this kind of thing and you realize, hey, maybe it's not just about the food and the exercise, maybe it's also about planning, and it's about learning how to manage your mind. Well, my November 5th cycle of my 6-week diet makeover program starts up again November 5th. If you want to jump on the wait list for that, we only open a couple times a year. It's at TanessaShears.com/join. TanessaShears.com/join. You can get on the wait list and you'll be the first to know, and you'll guarantee yourself a spot when we open November 5th. You guys, I've been honored to have you here today. Thank you so much. And if you have questions about this, you guys, leave them in the comments. I want to know that you're here. Say hi. I love talking to you guys. Have a beautiful week, and we will chat later. Bye.